This is on already, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the?
What?
Signature? Oh, there it is.
Bless you. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Committee on Appointments and Legislation and Rules, March 3rd, 2025 at roughly 9:03 a.m. Roll call. Gary Small,
Here.
Ray Gatsa,
Here.
Kathy Bright,
Here.
Joe Oshapinski,
Here.
Joe Bernal,
Here.
and Tom Walsh.
Here.
And we also have Doug Traeger with us. We need a motion to approve remote. Oh, there it is. Need a motion to approve remote attendance pursuant to Resolution 23-53. Mr. Gatsa, second by Mr. Small. In regards to Mr. Oshapinski? Work-related?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried. Need a motion to approve minutes of previous meeting. Mr. Gatsa, second by Ms. Bright. Any questions or comments? All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion carried. Legislation and rules. Any thoughts or recommendations on the board rules at this point in time? Yes. Mr.
Yeah, I've
Gatsa.
done just a first pass on this. I have some questions, not necessarily at this point recommendations. First one, just a question with board members. The $100. What's that? I'm sorry. Page 8.
8.
It's I, letter I.
Is that 19 per diem and mileage up at the top?
Yeah, are there members grandfathered in, or is everybody on the same page on this with the $100? Everybody is? Okay. I wasn't sure. Next thing is page 9. Did we change the travel reimbursement to 1,000 versus the 600, or is it still 600? We changed to 1,000? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it was changed to.
2023.
Okay,
to
but I've
1,000.
got,
Yeah,
it's
But
a, s-
didn't change it there.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
okay.
I'll change it.
Thank you. And then, let's see here. Next one. How do we ensure the Roberts rules as far as completing the Open Meetings Act certification in the FOIA? I know with the new ones, they have to do it. Do we do that every year, or is that just when?
I have to check on it. I thought it might be every year, at least after the person is elected.
Well, I knew that. I did it then, but I don't do it every year, and I didn't know if I had to. I couldn't remember with Robert's rules. I did not look that up yet.
Well, that wouldn't be Robert's rules. That would be the Open Meetings Act.
Or Open Meetings Act.
I don't know the answer to that question.
No, we'd have to check on that.
Okay, so if we could check.
Ray,
on
what page are you on?
that. I'm sorry, page 15. Sorry about that. And then, On page 16, N, it says any new committees may only be established after recommendation to and approval from the Committee on Appointment and Legislation and Rules Committee and the Finance Committee. Why is it the Finance Committee too?
Page
Page 16,
16.
Money,
letter N.
it's because of mileage and per diem, we need to make sure it's budgeted.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because if something new comes up, it's not budgeted in the book.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
The next one was page 20, just a question on letter E. It says, said committee shall consider legislation pending and proposed before the General Assembly of the State of Illinois affecting all Illinois counties. Who gives us those updates? And how do we discuss these in here or?
We haven't per se, but yeah, Tom will look them up, but we get newsletters from Illinois Association of County Board Members and UCCI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to
Is
get
it-
one this morning, but they can't get it out this early. So they're begging off. They said, they'll get it to us later in the day.
Okay, and I know Tom has done a very good job. I didn't know if he
Sooner
was
they
the
get 'em.
official updater or if there's
No.
a source other.
Well,
Well, I just received emails last week, maybe. Seems to me UCCI and IACBM. Sort of a legislative update, new laws and pending legislations. I'll forward out to everybody.
Okay,
I don't know why I haven't thus far, but there's a lot of different ones in there. Basically, it's county related.
if there's something that that caught your interest, will you highlight it for us or call it out or? Because I'm sure
Yeah, I
it looks
could.
like every other legal paper that it's.
Well, it's, they're probably 3 or 4 pages long, something like that.
Oh, that's not
It will
bad.
go through a number of different, either bills or, like I say, new laws or statutes.
that's what the association does. They make the list up that are pertinent, but they don't always get them all. Intentionally or
huh.
unintentionally.
And-
They're not always there.
Yeah.
But, the majority of them are, let's put it that way. But
Yeah, I feel that sometimes we really, particularly for the committee, and then talk with the rest of the board members, there may be some conversation we might want to have with UCCI or IACBM in regards to pending legislation from our perspective that they may not necessarily, correlate.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
there's a lot of them out there that just
Oh, yeah,
never make it. I mean, that's the thing. And I don't know, there's,
yeah.
there's some-
Sometimes if it goes in the committee, that's where it
Yeah.
stays.
Yeah, in that respect, yeah, a lot of bills that never make it to the floor. And they give those on the list also. So that's the thing. By the time they make it to the floor, you might say it's almost too late
Yeah.
because, you can do remote, testimony in a committee, in any of the committees that meet, if that bill is in a committee on that day. But you actually have to call the committee calendar up day by day to be able to trace those bills as to when they're moving, because a lot of them never move. They're just, you might say they're dead on arrival
Yeah.
because let's face it, they wind up with 3,000 bills approximately or more, and they just can't, there's no question about it. But the legislator has made his constituent happy because he got a bill, it's got a number, and it's out there, but where does
Waste
it
of
go?
time.
Yeah, yeah.
Waste of time.
You got to get some way to get on the Rules Committee.
Yeah.
And get the Rules Committee to move the bill to the full committee and then move it to the floor in order to get a vote on it.
Yeah.
I've got a list today I ran off, and I don't know how many of you may have access to it. It's called the Agency Legislative Liaisons. And these are the different agencies. And that's always an interesting contact because many of the agencies will take a pro or con position on bills too. And they control a lot more than probably we do when it comes down to it. And also the individual offices. Each office and each, whether it's elected or appointed, pretty much has an association they belong to that has a legislative person that covers legislation concerning that particular group. And I've tried down through the years to get these people to report a copy of their listing, and it's held in pretty close regard. I don't know if it's considered a public record or not, but they do have a list that they promote, you know. Whether it's pro or con to our interests, that it may be something to their interest.
Yeah.
And that's the danger of the whole thing. And it was just like one I was talking to a few of you about earlier, and not that it makes any difference, but I happen to be following, and that's in regard to pathologists for the coroner's office. They now have passed a bill, and there's numerous bills in this session also, that would allow the county to hire a physician who is not a quote-unquote pathologist, but then we have to pay for his insurance malpractice. I mean, even though the person's deceased, there is still malpractice insurance, you know, and that's the same thing in relationship to handling of the bodies. There's still a certain degree of insurance you have to have once you get to that point, because mistakes are made, you know, and you hate to say that somebody would be sent to crematory that wasn't supposed to be, but those are the kind of things that can happen. And we have to be covered for that in the true sense of the word, because if we're not, who knows? You know, we live in a very litigious society, and have, you know, been on the insurance trust committee for a number of years. I've seen a lot of lawsuits come forward that we settled and so forth in order to not go into a long protracted court battle, and it gets done, but it costs us money,
money.
costs the insurance companies money, and the minute it costs them money, then the rates go up. So that's how they make it work. But
Well, hopefully-
anyway, I'll get off my bandstand, but
Hopefully someday in Springfield it gets easier and simpler, right?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sure that, I said, hopefully it gets simpler someday in Springfield. I'm sure that's
Oh,
not going to
no.
happen, but
And if you go, I have a list of all the shell bills, if you want to see a parade of bills.
that they'll never
mean-
make. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have to be topic related in order to put an amendment on them.
Yeah.
And that's what we have, you know, so technically the admission of bills is over, but the shell bills are out there. So if you have anything that you're interested in, don't hesitate to contact Springfield in one of the associations. And
I
try and
am, I
pursue-
like Florida's no property tax bills that are going through.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that in Illinois.
Yeah, well, there's probably some out there you could get on if you needed it.
Yeah. Good luck. Huh?
Right.
Page 22, just curious reading through this. Do we have anybody that kind of in retrospect looks at the grants that we received from the prior year to see, did we get all the grant money that we could have? What happened to the budgeted money that we had the grant money for? Does anybody in finance look at that? It's page 22. I'm on
Basically, the
finance.
grant situation is decentralized here in the county. So the different departments, they keep track of what they're getting paid, you know, health department or the EMA or whatnot.
We don't have a review committee that says, okay, well, we received, I don't know, $1 million in grants and it saved us $1 million on our budget. What happened to that budgeted money?
We can take a look at that. I'm not sure that we really do that through the finance committee per se. I don't remember those conversations.
I mean, sometimes it's great because I think we do extras that we normally couldn't do, but just curious if it was a budgeted item, what happened to that budgeted money? So just didn't know if we wanted to add that in there anywhere, but just a side note at this point. And then also maybe under
Ray.
finance, I know when we had our audit, they talked, it was suggested and I guess bless you, maybe stronger than suggested as far as that director. We have nothing in here that I see on that director because we don't have one.
No, not
Is this
finance
something
director.
that we're going to be looking at? Just, okay. Okay.
Basically, to a certain extent, it depends on what we're going to see coming from this new audit for 2024
Okay.
and conversations with the outside auditor in regards to the insurance trust and this here and see what duties that would entail to make sure it doesn't conflict with the auditor's office.
I thought they spelled that out in the last audit pretty clearly, though. No?
Well,
Yeah, but there's things that the auditor is working on correcting that was mentioned in the last audit.
But I
So
thought
we
for-
want to see what is all corrected.
But I thought for separation of duties, you almost needed two distinct positions.
well, part of that issue is with the insurance trust, and what generally happens in those situations is your audits have, trying to think of the word, boilerplate information regarding their audit. And in the case with the insurance trust, there's that situation of separation of duties. And I mean, you'll run into that in different school boards where they're small enough that what's the cost of that extra personnel in comparison to what it's going to achieve? And to a certain extent, a lot of times the auditors, that's a disclaimer on their part.
Yeah, they went into so much depth on it, and I thought they had some good facts behind it, that it was definitely worthy of a discussion. And I didn't know who's having that discussion.
Yeah, we're looking, like I say, we're looking into that finance director and just exactly what that's going to achieve.
Okay.
And like I mentioned, it will be in regards to a conversation with the outside auditor and just exactly even individuals on the board as to what we could do with that director, because the last finance director we had, if I'm not mistaken, was fulfilling certain duties in auditor's office as well as finance director, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, yeah. So we just
Okay.
have to figure out those.
And these conversations are being held where and with whom?
We're having a meeting tomorrow afternoon. Stephanie and Melissa and trying to think of who else. And me, and we're just trying to figure out what we're looking for as, you know, if we're going to post it, what are those duties and how much it's going to cost.
Will the board be involved at all or not?
Eventually, sure. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then going forward,
Mrs. Brunel?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ray, sorry. To go back to the grants, I think those are tracked through the auditor's office.
Yeah,
I-
they're tracked
they're
and
tracked.
basically reports are done and things of that nature. But the grant situation, in the most part, is decentralized because you have certain departments.
right.
Now, different ones might come down to the auditor's office and get help as far as how to fill out the application for the grant. But a lot of times, because of the different departments and their own particular specialty or field, even a professional grant writer is still going to have feedback from those professionals
Right.
to figure out how to,
The details, yeah.
you know,
And tracking and reviewing are two different things in my mind. I understand that they're tracked, but who's looking at reviewing? Did we get everything? Could we have improved the writing of the grant? What happened to the budgeted money that the grant replaced, if it was a budgeted item? So,
A lot of the grants, the grant was given to start a program which wasn't ever budgeted to begin with. So really, if the grant disappears, that program
should disappear.
should disappear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to come back to the county board to budget money
Yep.
to continue.
And that's a good point, because sometimes I think it's like, well, okay, so we ran the program, it was successful, so now we're gonna budget in next year. Well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
let's talk about that. You applied for the grant, not necessarily we agreed with that.
Well, or sometimes, well, there's been several years back, the state of Illinois was almost 6 months behind on paying. So then the county had to,
Put the bills up front.
yeah,
and then
until
get
the state.
reimbursed for
Yeah, those are good points, Gary. Yep, I agree. And that's why I just think we should all be, somebody should be reviewing that and looking at it, and then again, if there was equipment that we got grant money for, and it was budgeted in, what happened to that budgeted money? So, just so it's not,
Well, if it's equipment, basically that'll go on the rolls as capital. Be traced that way, whether.
well, depending how
Yeah,
big it is.
Well, I mean, you take a look at the ARP, the school resource officer. You know, there's equipment, you know, vehicles and equipment there, that basically that's going to go on the rolls as inventory, but paid for by ARP.
But it doesn't hit capital till it's like 30 or 35,000, correct?
No, well, these would be vehicles that basically were approved in the ordinance.
All right.
Yes, but that was ARP money.
Yes,
So in the future, they will be back to the county to replace them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
correct, yeah, that's right. That's why you look in any of these grant situations, you have to see, you have to look forward. I mean, when ARP was first done, that was one of the warnings from the Treasury Department. Now, if you give this money out, whether if it's in retention pay or more personnel or whatever, you have to look beyond that 21 million and see what it's going to actually cost the county.
And that's the sad part, if you added personnel that, and they weren't told it was a temporary, in case we don't get this again, or get it through a budget.
But Ray, I think that's important to have all that documented in the minutes
Yep.
somewhere, that if that grant goes away, that position
I agree.
goes away. It has to be documented somewhere.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and most of the times in those resolutions, when those positions are created, that is part of the resolution, that if that grant goes away, so does that position. Yeah. Mr. Waltz?
I think that the documentation goes clear down when you're talking about personnel, where that individual needs to sign on to that
Yes.
fact
There you
when they
go.
sign in. And I used to go round and round with the state's attorney's office about that many moons ago, about the fact of when they hired somebody in and used money that, or gave them a raise with the money, that they knew, the employee knew that that was a one-shot.
It's only fair to them. Yes, I agree.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
right. And it's a CYA.
Yes.
Both
Yes.
directions,
Well, if you want to be a good employer, that's what you do.
Well, right, but I don't know how far, we're carrying that forward, and I think we need to look at that as a rule, to
I
be
would
honest
agree.
with you.
Yep.
I think you brought up an excellent point, and we need to proceed in that direction, because if we don't,
Right.
it isn't gonna get done.
So maybe we can note that that's something that we need to build into this somewhere.
Yep, good.
So, or at least discuss it with the state's attorney or something.
Put the notes on your page.
What's that?
Put the notes on your page for future reference.
Yeah, I'll do that. And actually, that's really all I had. The rest of the finance policies, hopefully, the attorneys will be looking at all that, because that's a lot of stuff in there that I'm not sure what's changed, what's not. There's a lot of Code of Federal regulations cited. I don't know if those are all still accurate. So hopefully somebody from the legal community is viewing this, because there's no way we're going to get through that and change anything. Typically, the codes don't change, but it really, there's a lot of delineation here in the articles that I don't know if it's still accurate or not. So I don't know if anybody's gone through that recently, but that part of the policy probably should be gone through. But-
Any other questions? Let's see. Okay, moving on to Committee on Appointments. First one we have is for Dimick Peru Rural Fire Protection District, Dennis Tomaszewski. Whereas the term of office of Dennis D. Tomaszewski as a trustee of the Dimick Peru Rural Fire Protection District expires the first Monday of May 2025, and whereas Dennis D. Tomaszewski has expressed his interest in being reappointed as trustee of Dimick Peru Rural Fire Protection District, and now therefore be it resolved by the County of LaSalle, acting by and through the LaSalle County Board, that Dennis D. Tomaszewski is hereby reappointed as a trustee of the Dimick Peru Rural Fire Protection District for a 3-year term beginning May 5th, 2025, expiring on the first Monday of May 2025 or thereafter until a qualified successor is appointed. Pardon? Oh, yeah, it is. Protection, correction there. Should be 2028. First Monday of May 2028. We have a motion to approve said amended resolution by Mr. Gatsa, second by Mr. Small. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Next is a resolution whereas the terms of office of each of the following named persons on the Waltham Cemetery Association have expired, and whereas they have all previously served on the Waltham Cemetery Association, and whereas they have shown a willingness to be reappointed to the Waltham Cemetery Association, and therefore be it resolved by the LaSalle County Board that the following named individuals be reappointed for 6 years as trustees of the Waltham Cemetery Association as follows. Thomas Small, term expiring June 30th, 2030. Bruce Brown, term expiring June 30th, 2030. Steve Wilson, term expiring June 30th, 2030. Albert Hagenbach, term expiring June 30th, 2030. Stephen Finley, term expiring June 30th, 2030. Nancy Wilson Clemens, term expiring June 30th, 2030. And David Christopher, term expiring June 30th, 2030. May I have a motion to approve said resolution by Ms. Brunel, second by Mr. Gatsa. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried. Next, we have a resolution for reappointing the trustee of the Winona Fire Protection District, whereas the term of office of Keith L. Coons, a trustee of the Winona Fire Protection District, will expire, and whereas Keith L. Coons has expressed his interest in being reappointed as a trustee of the Winona Fire Protection District, and now therefore be it resolved by the County of LaSalle, acting by and through the LaSalle County Board, that Keith L. Coons is hereby reappointed as trustee of the Winona Fire Protection District for a 3-year term beginning April 1st, 2025, and expiring March 31st, 2028, or thereafter until a qualified successor is appointed. May I have a motion to approve said resolution? Mr. Small, second by Ms. Brunel. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carried. Next, we have a resolution reappointing trustee of the Reading Community Fire Protection District, whereas the term of office of Thomas E. Metzke as a trustee of the Reading Community Fire Protection District will expire on May 5th, 2025, and whereas the remaining trustees of the Reading Community Fire Protection District has requested Thomas E. Metzke be reappointed, as a trustee of the Reading Community Fire Protection District, and now therefore be it resolved by the County of LaSalle, acting by and through the LaSalle County Board, that Thomas E. Metzke is hereby reappointed as a trustee of the Reading Community Fire Protection District for a 3-year term beginning May 5th, 2025, and expiring on May 1st, 2028, or thereafter until a qualified successor is appointed. May I have a motion to approve said resolution? Mr. Gatsa, second by Ms. Bright. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor of said resolution signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Next, we have a resolution appointing members to the LaSalle County 708 Mental Health Board. Whereas a term of office for Ella Weber and John Leninger, appointed members of LaSalle County 708 Mental Health Board, has expired, and whereas the LaSalle County Board Chairman Don Jensen recommends and requests that Bonnie Campbell and Diana Schuler be appointed as citizens at large members of the LaSalle County 708 Mental Health Board. Wherefore, be it resolved by the LaSalle County Board that Bonnie Campbell and Diana Schuler are hereby appointed as citizens at large members of the LaSalle County 708 Mental Health Board for 4-year terms expiring on November 30th, 2029. Yeah, it should be 2029 instead of 2028. Pardon? Or thereafter until a qualified successor is appointed. May I have a motion to approve said resolution?
Even though it's incorrect, I'll make a motion.
Second by Mr. Gatsa.
Question.
Mr. Walsh.
Did either one of these other people express any interest to be reappointed, or?
No, this is an appointment, not a reappointment.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Oh,
those
you
were two
mean
names. that
Ella
were men-
Weber and John Leninger?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
you're welcome. I didn't do the vote yet. No, okay. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Small, second by Mr. Gatsa. All in favor of said motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.